Good morning. At the moment of the Berlin Wall fall, it was obvious for many people, many scholars, many politicians that democracy will dominate the world and that every country will become a democracy. 30 years later, what happened? Democracy is only there in half of the world population, and according to many analyses and indexes, it is shrinking. Of course, there are many shades of democracy. Perfect democracy means free elections, free religions, free press, free right of reunion, free right of associations, human rights, and many other things. And this doesn't exist almost nowhere, except, according to the analysis, in 3 countries, New Zealand, Iceland, Norway. The others are partly democracies, some are illiberal democracies, and after that, we have different kinds of regimes. What is the future of that? Is democracy going to shrink in the future? There are many reasons to think that democracy will shrink and will be in great peril. One is that, in terms of ideology, democracy is seen as equivalent to the West, and many people hate the West. They hate what the West has bring to the world. They hate and they analyze the West as only a sign of colonization, and therefore they hate the West, colonization, and therefore democracy. It's a sign of that, and we saw that some minutes ago, that there is a great alliance of global South, but not a great alliance of global democracies, knowing that within the global South there are many democracies which prefer to ally with their friends of the South than to their friends in democracy in the North. There are many other reasons for democracy to fail. One is that there are wars between democracies and non-democracies, as we see in Ukraine, wars that are possible between other parts of the world, between democracies and non-democracies, in Asia, in the Middle East, in Latin America, in Africa. There are also other reasons. Many democracies, if not all of them, are crippled with debt. Many democracies are dominated by global companies that can take decisions without taking care of the interest of citizens of their democracies. New technologies are threatening the basis of democracy, as we have seen with the use of technology during the pandemics. As also, as it is known, that AI, and I could elaborate on hours about it, could and will be a threat to democracies if some things are not done for that. And last but not least, democracy is also threatened by its capacity to solve many problems: minority rights, women's rights, employment, environment. Therefore, we should not discard the risk of democracy to disappear in many countries where it seems to be stable. In Western Europe, as well even in the US, which is, by the way, the only country in the world where democracy has never been replaced by a dictatorship for a while. And we should not forget that two democracies are rarely making war to each other, very rarely. Therefore, the weakening of democracies is increasing the risk of wars around the world. Is it certain? No. First, because in the past it was worse. If you look at what happened in the 30s, or even in the 50s and 60s, there was much more totalitarian regimes than today. Much more. And also the fact that there are many reasons to believe that democracy has a very large future. First, because a lot of dictatorship cannot solve many problems, because fear is always an obstacle to reason and to good decisions. Even good decisions for economy. Fear prevents innovation. fear prevents rationality. And therefore, on the long run, democracy, could be analyzed as lack of fear on many fields, will be good even for economics. And also, there are many reasons why, on the long term, democracy will prevail. First, information cannot be hidden forever. And therefore, if you say the truth at the end, through new technologies, truth will prevail. I know there are fake news and all that, but democracy will prevail on that. The second reason is that the more you have education, the more you have people asking for more information, more power on their life, and therefore more local, at least, democracies and control of their cities. The third element, which is going in the direction of more democracy, is the development of economy itself, which is creating a very large and larger everyday middle class. And the middle class is not only asking for an affluent future in terms of economics, but also middle class is asking for property rights, freedom of expression, freedom of movement, rights for the next generation to do something else, control of their own life. And then, as we have seen in the past in Europe and in many countries, on the long run, middle class is pushing for rule of law and against terror. Last reason, not the least, is that, as we have seen in the last years, some totalitarian regimes have been unable to solve the simple problem that they face. If you look at COVID, it was much better managed in democracies than in many non-democratic countries. And then, what next? I cannot guess. History is always tragic, and tragedy is the most probable. As a European, I must say that I cherish democracy. But I respect people for historical reason, cultural reason, who do not choose to have such a regime. I respect that, and I applaud when we move in the directions of more human rights and more freedom for women and more freedom for young people. And therefore, I think that the future of mankind would be better if each country has its own regime based on its own culture, having in common the wish of more human rights, more empathy, more altruism, and more than everything else, an interest in the rights of next generation. If democracy should be something for everyone, it's the fact that we should all think that next generation should vote and that we should take decisions in the interest of next generation. If we all do that, we'll avoid wars, we'll have peace, and it will be a better world for all of us. Thank you very much.